We have a huge Korean hornbeam here. You can see the size relative to Matthew, who's by the side of the tree. And we are going to repot this tree. But before we repot this tree and trim the tree, we are considering different options for the front. If you turn the tree around very slowly, please, Matthew, clockwise. Okay, turn it. Now, last year when I was looking at this tree, I did look at this tree from this side, stay there, and we thought of using this as a possible front because it's got this lovely branch on the right-hand side and this branch on the left-hand side, and the base, the nibari, is quite good as well. So we were thinking of positioning the tree like this, which was not the chosen front, the original chosen front. And I chose this because the front is also very open. You see the trunk is so open down the front here, right down all the way to the apex. If we now turn it round slowly again, back to the original front that the tree was planted in. So this is the other possibility. I didn't like this very much because it has a gap over here. So this is a nice front. It's difficult to choose because we have the two branches, the lower branches left and right, and that back branch, they're very convenient there. But as I said, the only problem is that there is a branch somehow lacking in the middle there. But that's not a problem. I think, let me ask Matthew, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, like you said previously, this front has its benefits, nice and open. Yeah, got a back branch there.
Yeah, that could be considered a back branch. So slight at an angle like this, if I'm looking at it head on. And if I put it this way, the gap on the right-hand side is not so obvious. And also this leader is nice, leaning slightly.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to use it, and the nibari somehow looks stronger there. So this is one of those instances where you're really spoilt for choice.
Yeah.
Both are possible. Both are possible.
I really like this sort of second trunk.
Yeah.
The movement.
Both are possible.
I think that's
It's
really
a hard choice, but then
nice, wide.
the way to solve this is to put it in a round mica pot, isn't it?
Yeah.
And let the customer choose the front.
Have options, yeah. I mean, this is possibly, we could possibly bring this around a bit to fill in.
But if you turn it around to the other side, if you use the other side as the front, you don't have to do anything.
Less sort of maintenance. Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether we should just put it in a round mica pot.
Flip a coin.
Huh?
Yeah, it's a nice tree, so yeah.
Maybe we should, huh? And whoever buys it, they can then choose what they do with it.
That's right, yeah.
See, we tend to impose our own views on people, whereas the buyer who buys it, they usually have their own ideas. If you can kindly hold the camera for me, what I usually like to do, because it's rather unkempt, I like to give it a very rough prune. And when I prune it roughly, you'll see you get a much better idea as to what the tree should look like. By the way, in one of my recent videos, or this current video which is on, today, by the way, is the 26th or 25th? 26th, is it?
Sure.
26th, anyway, of February. Someone sort of slated me and said that, oh, you shouldn't be pruning in spring. You should prune in the autumn when the leaves have dropped and then prune it. I don't do that. Maybe if that person does it that way, nothing wrong with it, as long as it works for him, but I've never done it. And the simple reason being, if you do it in the autumn, what happens is that when you get the hard frost in the winter, the frost goes into the stem and can damage the young shoots there, the dormant shoots. So for that reason, I think the perceived wisdom throughout the horticultural world is to prune in the early spring. I don't know where this person got the idea of pruning in the autumn. You can prune in the autumn, but not as much as we're doing now at this time of the year. At this time of the year, you can really encourage ramification, and the logic being, if you prune now, just when the new shoots are beginning to sprout, anything you do will not set the tree back, because the tree is raring to go. It's full of energy, and because it's full of energy, there is no possibility of setback for the tree. Absolutely none. Now I know that because there's so many people, if I have 500,000 subscribers, there are a lot of people watching what I do. And there will be some who say, oh, Peter Chan is stupid. He's doing all these things at the wrong time of the year and he's pruning like a maniac. But I don't go around. I once had a person who, sadly, I don't like to say, he was trained in Japan. And you won't believe, this is going back about maybe 20, 25 years ago. And what he did was, I asked him to prune a tree. He spent, I'm not joking, half a minute. Shall I cut this? Shall I cut this? Half a minute deciding which to cut. By the end of the afternoon, between 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock, he hadn't even done one pad. So sadly, I don't think I could use his services. You don't have to look at each particular twig and take half a minute or 1 minute. If you have all the time in the world, by all means. But if you work in a commercial nursery, you can't do that. And there's no need to do it. You can see I just go around like that, shearing like I shear hair or shear a sheep. Well, it is bonsai, it is a plant. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And then once you've done that very rough pruning, you can then look at it carefully and see how you can refine it more. And the general principle again is, remember to have that dome shape or conical shape. However much people talk about bonsai design and write reams of books and dissertations about bonsai design, at the end of the day, if you create a dome-shaped tree, a conical-shaped tree, you will have created a very nice-looking bonsai. There is no more to it than that. As I always remind people, bonsai is not rocket science. There is the artistic side, and if you are artistically gifted, like pianists and violinists, all these great artists, you have to be gifted with a flair to create. But the general principles, the general horticultural aspects, and general design is certainly not rocket science. So again, you see this is a fault coming down, but if it comes down, I can make it go that way. I don't want to cut it off, otherwise it becomes bare. That I can take down a little bit with gentle wiring. Some of these branches I can take down gently, but I think we are going to put it in a mica pot, a round pot. Then whoever buys it can then decide for themselves what pot to eventually put it in. This is certainly a very nice tree. These trees are grown in Korea and I think sent to Japan and then sent out. So this branch here has got like two pads, one pad here, another pad there. I still prefer this front. For my money, I would like to see this tree developed in this fashion. I think if I wanted to, I could take this a bit lower like that. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll look at the roots when we come to repotting it. There you go. So Matthew is wiring some of the branches to get the pads in a flatter disposition. So the rear too has been wired to give the pad that flat look. And these also we're wiring to get it flat like this. So although deciduous trees are not often wired, you sometimes have to guide the branches along. Otherwise, the natural tendency is for them to spring upwards like that one. Can you see how it's a U-shape springing upwards? So you have to control that. There are a lot of faults. The more you look at this tree, the more faults there are. Like, look at this curvy bit here. That's a faulty bit. That's a faulty bit. But then you make the most of your faults. And of course, when it is dense, you don't tend to notice it, but that is really a glaring fault, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is this. Don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, it's very unusual, yeah.
So is this.
Yeah.
So the more you look, the more faults you find.
Yeah.
So we've taken this Korean hornbeam out of its original pot, and if you look closely, this is where we always tell people that if the tree doesn't need it, you don't need a radical repot. There's a lot of room. You see how loose the soil is, and this compost is very good, and it's just fine roots on the edges. So I think we just take about not even a quarter inch on the edge. You see all the roots for some reason always come to the edges. You see, once you see, in fact you don't even need to do that, but since we've taken it out, we loosen it. You see all the roots are on the edge there. So it's certainly not pot bound, but we loosen it a little bit and we'll put it in its new pot. And surprise, surprise, we'll show you what pot we're going to use. Okay, so there you are. So, okay, if you hold that there, I will just show you what I would do. You can use any tool. See, you see how loose it is. So that's, root ball is not really compacted at all. So we can probably just do this and then cut this sort of thing off. And that's all you need to do. So it's not a very drastic or radical repot. You see how lovely the condition of the soil is there. So we go all around and do that and then put it in its new pot. So we've got this far. So you can see it wasn't terribly pot bound, but we've dealt with the roots, and the compost is still in very good condition. Look at that lovely compost there. So in fact, if you wanted to, there's no reason why you can't use the same soil. Some people are very squeamish. Soil is soil. As long as there are no obvious bugs and germs in it, you could use it, but I don't think we will. But I'm just making a point that if you wish to, you can always use it again. Mud is mud. You can dig into the ground and plant this in mud should you wish to do so. Now, the reason for dealing with the surface roots, we took a lot of trouble. We had two of our colleagues here teasing the roots gently to see if we could improve the nibari. So if you look at it here, there are good examples to show you. Now, this root was growing because there was soil here, and that started developing. I don't think I really need it. It's coming a bit proud, and also that one is going the wrong way. And if you ask me, I would prefer to take it off. One of our colleagues here said, oh, why don't you pin it like that? You could do that, but I don't think so. But that definitely is a no-no. I don't need this one. That is certainly in the wrong place. So, and I'm not sure if these grow from root cuttings, but you can always try. If you plant this into the ground, you get a new plant possibly. But again, because this is proud, again, I couldn't be bothered. The nibari underneath is very good. So whenever you do repotting of specimen trees, this is a very good time to look at the roots to see if you can improve it or not. You see, again, right round the tree, nibari is excellent on this tree. So now that one, if you're fussed, you may be able to see it, but that's going the wrong way. So technically speaking, you don't really need that going that way. So let's get rid of this one. There's a very famous Naka saying, this is going back to the 70s and 80s, and it goes like this: if you have a problem, cut it off. But if you cut it off and you still have a problem, then you really have a big problem. See all these surface roots which are going the wrong direction, we can cut it off. And if you want it to be even more pedantic, see that one really, if you look at it, that's going the wrong way. You know, see that is a very nice root. That, I don't know, some people may keep it, some people may not. Even that one is a bit funny there. Let's reduce it a bit. Not so proud, but it's going over that one. That is going over that one. I don't think I will have it. Let's get rid of that one. That makes it a bit better. So all these blemishes, I call them blemishes, you can get rid of. So that's it. So now we will just put it in a round pot and we will show you the finished result. We couldn't decide between two sizes of mica pot. That pot I think is a bit small for that tree, and the other next size or the nearest size pot was the round mica, and I will show you when we've potted it up. It was on the slightly generous side, but I think it would look okay in that. So here we are. We decided to use a round pot, drum pot, and it looks rather nice in this drum pot because it's now got a nice lean to that side. And we changed the front. This was the original back of the tree. So we've used this as the front, and look at that lovely nebari and leaning that way with that canopy there. And if we go back to the original front, and this was the original front. This was the original front, if you look. So this is viable too. So whoever owns this tree will probably prefer this as the front. But for my money, I would like the other side of this as the front. And you can see the logic why I chose a round pot, because either pot, either this pot or the other pot, is perfectly fine. And look at that beautiful, beautiful nebari. We took all the trouble to clean it, and you can see the detail. You can come around. Look at that. That's really exquisite nebari there. So there is a case for using either side as the front, either this side as the front, or this, I would say, is Peter Chan's preferred front. You can disagree with me or agree with me, but this is how I see this tree. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video.